It's great to be with you guys. I've had a busy year. I mean, it's been insane. I should have been in Milwaukee last night. Well, maybe I shouldn't have after what happened to Pacers last night. I don't know about that. But let me just tell you a little bit about my year, what it's been like for me. I was at some game called the Super Bowl, did that. Had opportunity to cover the NBA All-Star game. Had the opportunity to cover this thing called the Final Four down in Phoenix. And then last week, I was at Augusta National for the Masters. Wasn't covering it, just going as a patron, but I've had a crazy year. But I wouldn't change it for anything. That's why I signed up back in 1992 when I left high school to go to Syracuse University, which we love competing with Ball State, by the way. These two schools are like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Although I always tell guys and folks who've been interns with me and things like that, or kids who are students who are trying to go to college, I always talk about how great Ball State is. You guys are in such a great spot, such a great spot for just for broadcasting, behind the scenes, writing, you name it. It's right there at the top. As a matter of fact, I think there was something that came out, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, like the top 10 sports broadcasting schools in America, and I think Ball State was. I know they were in the top 10 for sure. They were like, I think they were like top 5, and so you're in a good spot. But that's what my year's been like, and I wouldn't trade, as I said before, for anything, because when I signed up for this back in 1992, when I went off to Syracuse, these are the opportunities I really wanted to, hope they came my way. I tell you a little bit about my journey to where I got to where I am today. At a young age, I always knew I wanted to be a sportscaster. I just always knew it. I love sports, and I love to talk. And I knew I couldn't make any money playing sports. So I was like, hey, I better try to put this together and try to be a sportscaster. And so I decided I had opportunity to go to Syracuse, New York. And so I went to the Newhouse School. And right at the start, my freshman year, I knew that I had to get in, like I wanted to get involved. And I know it's great to see a lot of freshmen raising your hands, things like that. I love it because my freshman year, I was like, hey, I want to get an internship somewhere because I want to get involved. Because one thing I think was what I noticed at Syracuse is very similar to Ball State, is very competitive. Like, the person next to you wants it just as bad as you do. And so you better not, hey, you sitting around doing nothing, you're going to be in trouble come graduation, right? And so I knew right from the start I wanted to get involved. Now, some of you all who are freshmen here may not have done it this year. I highly encourage you, get involved. Get with the radio station, get the newspaper. Obviously, you got the sports link here. Definitely do that. News and sports. Get involved with all that. That is so huge. Especially when it comes to trying to find a job when you get out in 4 years. But I knew I wanted to do that. So my freshman year, I got an internship. We didn't get paid. Just get prepared. Most of the jobs in our business, we don't get paid for internships. Just kind of how it is because everybody wants to do it. But even back then, I didn't get paid at all. And I would go on Friday. I would go on Friday nights, and I just did the weekends because I had classes. I didn't have a chance to get over. But I remember I never forget these moments. Remember being in Syracuse, and here I am from Evansville, Indiana, small Evansville, Indiana, going to like New York in a way, if you will. And I just remember getting on that bus every Friday, nervous, kind of scared, because it's a bigger city than Evansville, but I'm a freshman. But I was so determined to just, get in, to be around people who just do it what I wanted to do one day. And so I just remember, I can see it. I can see it right now. Just getting on that bus, and taking it downtown, going to the station, and this station was known for like legendary, like it has like really, really good people in the business, like who have done really well. Like a guy named Mike Tirico, you ever heard of him? Guy on NBC, right? He's getting ready to host the Olympics. Who's a friend of mine. He was one of the guys that worked, and he wasn't working there when I was there. His story is crazy successful, like just weird what he's done. I mean, just out of the box what he's done. He was like I think a sophomore at Syracuse, a junior at Syracuse, and he was anchoring the weekend sports. And then it kind of makes sense. He's so good, right? And so they had someone like him. There was a lot of legendary people who've done very well at that station. It was called Channel 5, WTVH 5. And so I was determined to do that. So the intern, I would go there on Friday nights, the weekends as well, and I would do it over and over and over every week. And while my friends were out having fun, partying, whatever, I was just determined, hey, look, I'm I'm gonna focus in on this my freshman year. And so out of my freshman year, that summer, I got an internship back home in Evansville, Channel 7 in Evansville. And I never forget this guy. His name was Ryan Lemon. And one day I come in, because I just wanted to try to be around it, just be around it. Like I told you guys, just being around it, people who you can just learn, just be like a sponge, right? And so I never forget this moment. My freshman year, I go in, and I'm doing an internship with him the first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden, he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna have you go back to your alma mater, Ball State High School, and you're gonna do a story on the track team." And I ran track there, and so and they, it's my alma mater. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back, and then he goes, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna put you on TV." I'm like, "Put me on TV?" And so I'm feeling like really good. So I go back, talk to students at my alma mater, and then I'll never forget that night at 6 o'clock at night. My family was watching. I'm on television doing a story on our high school track and field team, and 3 days later, the news director came to Ryan and said, "Don't you ever put him on TV again. Don't you ever do that." And so that was the history of me. That was the end of me being on TV that year. But I learned so much as an intern. And then my sophomore year, I did the same thing when I got back to Syracuse, did an internship. And then finally my junior year, I was so fortunate by, hard work, good work ethic, showing up, right? Making a lot of sacrifices. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute, about how important sacrifices are in our business. But after that, my junior year, I never forget the guy who was in charge, named Dan Horde, who's now in the Bengals, play-by-play guy, is a mentor of mine. He comes up to me, he says, "Hey, listen," they call me Ace, AC or Ace a lot of times, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna promote you to our part-time sports producer, making $20 a shift." That's what I made. God, I feel like I'm old, right? God, I'm not that old, but $20 a shift. So my shift was like 3 to 6. So basically $20 a show. So you do the 6 o'clock show, on the Saturdays, that was $20. Do the 11 o'clock, another $20. So I was cashing. I was making about $40 on the weekends, right? So they made a part-time sports producer, which was great. Then I started getting more hours by my senior year, okay? And then, 3 months left to go in school, time to graduate. And I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I really would love to stay here in Syracuse. I'd love to be on air. But it's so hard because it's marked at 62 at the time. God, what do you got planned for me? I don't know what's going to happen, but I've been making all these sacrifices. And so I got down to last month, and I'm applying for jobs. In I never forget the job I applied for in Lexington, Kentucky. I didn't get it. Didn't get that job. And so finally, got down to like 2 weeks left to go in school, and I'm nervous. I'm freaking out. Like, what am I going to do? I know I got the talent to be on air, but it's hard. Everybody wants to do this. I always compare sportscasters or people in TV like athletes and actors, because everybody wants to do it, and there's not that many spots. There's just not really spots for like some of the real good jobs. And so, so I was concerned. I was nervous. Then all of a sudden, my boss, Al Woods is his name. You may remember, Al Woods. He'd been in the business for such a long time. He had a great voice, African American guy, and great, just a really good person. He goes, "Hey, we're going to promote you to our number 3 sports reporter." And so I was number 3 sports reporter. The day after I graduated, I had a job, which was awesome, full time. Had benefits, which was great. Had a tiny little clothing allowance. I think I did. Yeah, no, I didn't have one for that job. And then so I had the job where I graduated. So it was awesome. I was thankful. Was in a good market, Syracuse. So I got a chance to cover the Buffalo Bills, cover the Syracuse basketball program. All that stuff was fun. And then my goal always was I wanted to go to ESPN. Like, I always wanted to be on SportsCenter. That was kind of my that or some type of network is what I wanted to do. And so I did that for a year and a half, but I felt like, hey, the only way I can get to ESPN or get to get to a network, I needed to get more reps. I needed to get cover up like a professional team. So Indy's home, right? Indiana's home. So I'm like, I got to get to a market that size that's covering, got some professional sports, and then I can take that leap to ESPN or to the network. And so it happened. About a year and a half in that job, I got promoted from the number 3 position to like the number 2. So I was the weekend sports anchor in Syracuse, and that happened like in 6 months. It was quick. Right after I graduated, boom, they moved into that position. So then I'm like, okay, well, I want to get to ESPN. I don't want to stay in Syracuse the whole time because so many before me have gone on. Mike Tirico, those guys have gone on. He left there to go to ESPN. Like a lot of guys that worked there had moved on to bigger jobs. And so, but I knew I didn't want to go to ESPN without having some more reps. And so Indy was a place I looked at, and some other places too. But Indy is kind of where I wanted to go. I knew about the city, obviously, being in Indiana. I knew about the sports and all that stuff. So, happened the year before I got hired, I took a trip out to Indy, met a guy named Ted Lynn, who used to be the news director at Wayne TV. I mean, news director at Wayne TV, just retired. He liked my tape, and I'll never forget. He said it was so funny. He said to me, he goes, "Hey, you're really good. I like." He goes, "Man, you got a smile like Tiger Woods or something like that." I was like, and that's when Tiger was hot. It was like 90. It was 96 or 90, yeah, 90, 98. And he goes, "But we don't have anything. We don't have anything yet, right, available yet. But something could change next year." And I'm like, this guy just tell me some stuff. He's just wasting my time. You don't have anything available. But I was like, okay, all right. So then 4 months later, he's calling me. He's like, hey, listen, we got some stuff happening now. We like you a lot. Let's figure out a way to get you here, yada, this, yada, whatever. So the door opened for me. They had, I think there was 4 positions open in that department. People were leaving. They were taking other jobs. So I replaced a young lady by the name of Sage Steele. Do we know who she is on ESPN? Y'all know who she is? Okay. All right. So Sage is a friend of mine. And it's so funny. I replaced her. And I remember saying, I was like, are you kidding me? I got to replace this beautiful young lady. They'd see her and they're going to see me next. I mean, come on, I'm in trouble. She's so talented as well. I remember replacing her, and she was so sweet, so nice. And today we talk, we connect to each other all the time. Good friend. But so I replaced her in 1998. 98, and I've been at the station now over 25 years. Who would have thought that? I've had opportunities to go other places, but it just felt like God wanted me here, and I've seen so many incredible things happen in our city. I've covered so many events. I've covered Peyton Manning from day one throughout his career, Andrew Luck throughout his career. Who else? I mean, go on and cover Reggie Miller when he was here sometime, portion of his career. And so the journey for me has been one that I wouldn't change. I've had the opportunity to possibly go to ESPN, but I chose not to do that. I chose to stay here. I've had opportunity to go to Chicago, chose not to do that as well. And I don't really have a lot of regrets because I love what I do. We have a big sports department, 6 people on our team, and we get a chance to cover some really great events. And I think you guys heard what I just said about my year this year. And so, but I want to tell you guys about this, and then we can open for some questions. I just want to say this to you all. I would say if you're going to get in this business, you're going to have, like any job, but especially this career, you're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices. Okay? You are. And so I would say if you're not willing to make a lot of sacrifices, not willing to work hard or have a good work ethic, you're gonna have a hard time striving in this career. And you can probably say about a lot of careers, but I know for sure this one here. Back at Syracuse, one thing I'm so proud of, they actually have my name on the wall, and I say something because I spoke to students there, and I talk about how you can just basically the same thing. You won't make it in this business if you don't make sacrifices. And what I mean by that is that those. I'm not saying that even in college, like when I was making those sacrifices, when I was getting on that bus every Friday, I'm a true believer. I would not be having that job the day after graduation if I didn't make those sacrifices to do that. And I'm not saying you can't have a good time at school or you can't go to parties or whatever. I'm not saying that. But I think there is a time where you got to think about yourself like, hey, look, what's more important here? Am I trying to get a job when I graduate? Or why do I need to go hang out and do something I shouldn't be doing that's taking this place? I think you got to think about that. And then I thought about that, and I also thought about the guy, the female, whoever's next to me, they want it just as bad as I do. So if I don't bring my A game, I know my friend so-and-so, she's going to bring her A game or he's going to bring his A game there. And so for me as a competitive edge, I always kind of strive like that. And anybody who works with me, they'll tell you, I'm crazy competitive with our competition in town. I'm just how I am. I was built that way, and I always challenge my team. But hey, listen, we need to stand out, and that means we got to outwork the competition as much as we can. All right, that's how I'm born. That's how I kind of pattern my life. Just far as just giving it your 100%, 110%, and then whatever happens, happens. At least you gave it your all. And so in this business, you're going to have to make sacrifices. And so even in your classrooms today, even in college, same type of deal. There may be times where guys want to do it. You guys might want to do a frat party or whatever, but you got to be there to call the Ball State basketball game, be there for the football game, whatever. Or you got to be behind the scenes, do NewsLink or SportsLink. You got to do that. And then when you make those sacrifices, I'm telling you, there are incredible benefits that come. Incredible. Like I look at my career and look at my life and just all the things I've done. I've gone to I think 11. I've covered 11 Super Bowls in my career. 11 Super Bowls, I think that's what it is. I think I just tweeted that out. I think it's 11. 11 Super Bowls. I think I've gone to 10 straight Final Fours. Those are the benefits you get. You get to a point where you're at like my career, you've been in it for a while, financially, you're taken care of, for the most part, and so that you're thankful for. So you get those opportunities, and then you get paid to talk about sports. I mean, come on. I mean, that's you want to do it in a professional way. I don't go on air thinking like, oh my God, my job says no. I have a responsibility, but you're talking about sports. I mean, think about that. I mean, you're covering sports. You're trying to put a smile on someone's face at home, after a great touchdown or a great, dunk or whatever it may be. Those are the benefits you get. In my life with this job, I've been able to meet so many incredible people. You talk about benefits, right? Tony Dungy is a great friend of mine. Covered him with the Colts. He and I talk probably every week, Those are the benefits of great relationships. My mentor is Jim Nantz, guy who does CBS Sports. We texted yesterday. I was in the Butler Cabin with him this past weekend. The Butler Cabin. I mean, we're Tiger fan, those guys. But those are like the benefits. You know what I'm saying? If you just try to do the right things, have a great work ethic, show grace towards others, people who work with you or work on your team, and just be professional. That the doors are wide open for you. Those are the benefits. And then after making the sacrifice to talk about at least the great benefits, I also think you got to network too. Network. And I'll give you a prime example. So this whole connection with me and Jim Nantz. Some of y'all don't know who he is. Jim Nantz is a guy who works for CBS. He's a lead sportscaster for CBS. He does NFL with Tony Romo. He's a play-by-play guy for that. He's also used to be for college basketball for 30 plus years. Just stepped down from doing that. And then he's their lead guy for golf, and so he's got a pretty cool career. We joked around because this year we did some cool things. Like we've done this before, but he and I saw him at the Super Bowl because it was on CBS, and then we hung out at the Final Four because he was there just to go, and then I saw him at Augusta. I was with him obviously at Augusta, but he's one. I think one of two maybe, or he may be the only. I think he's one of two I think he's the only. He may be the only one. I'm sorry about this, but he's one of few who's called the Super Bowl, the Final Four, and the Masters all in the same year. I think he's done 3 times. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, so he's got a cool job. So the networking deal. So in 2006, I think it was 2006, we had a Final Four here, and he comes up to me. And he goes, young man, I saw you on television last night, and you're really talented. He goes, you're going to have a bright career. You're going to do great. Your future's great. And I said, I was just blown away. I was like, this is Jim Nantz saying something to me. So I'm like, oh, my God. So I said, well, thank you so much, Mr. Nantz. I appreciate it. And that was it. And so it was a shoot-around on Friday, and so everyone, they're doing the shoot-around for the Final Four. And it was Saturday when he saw me. And so I'm saying to myself, I'm like, wow, you know what? I got to get to know this guy. I mean, him come up to me and tell me that my future's bright. I got to figure out a way to, to connect with him. So, saw him at the championship game on that Monday. I said, hey, Mr. Nantz, do you mind if I send you my VHS tape? How bad is that? You might have seen my VHS tape. I'll get it out to, or it was, maybe it was you know what? I think it was a CD. It was a disc, but it wasn't what we do now. It wasn't no linked or whatever. And so I sent it to, he said, yes, send it to my assistant, Melissa, who actually lived here sometime in Indy, which is kind of wild. Sent it to her. He looked at it, critiqued it, told me the good, told me the bad, and we've been friends ever since. That's all because I took the initiative to realize. First, he said, you have a bright future, but I said, hey, you know what? I need a network. I need to stay connected with this guy. And now the rest is history, and we've been friends for what, I don't know, almost 20 years. And so networking is important. Is important. And you know what? I don't feel like you're bothering people. One thing that we love, people in my business, that the older you get, you love to give back. You do, because I know I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have somebody pull me by my hand and helping me along the way. So I love it when young people reach out to me, not every day, but when they reach out to me, and they need help and they need guidance, I try my best to get back to them, because I know I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't, for someone doing that for me. And the thing about people who are in my position, we feel good when we can give you advice or we can help you. We feel good about that. So I encourage you all. It may not be me, but it could be anybody. Someone that you admire or you respect in the business, or someone, if there's a professor here or whatever, that you can give you some direction. Go for it. Go for it. Reach out to them. Very rare where you find someone say, no, I can't help you, or I'm too busy. No, most people genuinely want to help. And so I would encourage you to do as much networking as you possibly can, because you just never know what can happen. Opportunities out there, whatever you want to do, in front of the camera, behind the camera, digitally. Digital is huge. Videography is huge as well in our business. But it's all about you being proactive, you networking, and just being all in. And if you're all in, you're going to have no problem making this business. And especially someone who's in a position like me to hire. We love folks like that. And here's the good news about being at Ball State. You already have an advantage over a lot of people because you come from Ball State. And there's nobody in a position to hire, like a news director, sports director, or wherever it may be, executive producer. When they see Ball State, when they see Syracuse, these other schools, the game automatically changes. Because it's like, we know these kids, these students are at a different level than most of these other schools, because they live and breathe it here. And so you're already at an advantage already. So now all you got to do is step through the door and bring your A game, bring your skill set, and you'll be ready to go. Okay? All right. I'll open up some questions. I know you got some questions. You got somebody you want to ask me, and how are we looking on time? We're good?
Oh, we're fine.
Okay. Great. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Danny Huber.
Danny, nice to meet you, Danny. Nice to meet you, man. Yeah.
What has been the most influential story in your life?
Most influential story in my life. What do you mean? Help me out.
What story do you feel has made the biggest impact in your career?
In my career? Well, I probably would say, I've had a lot of great stories. I'll give you two examples. So the biggest story that's probably had the biggest impact on my life, my career, is probably the story I just told you about Jim Nantz. Just meeting him. That was just because from meeting him and being around him has affected me so much as an individual, okay? And there's a couple of things. One, just performance on air. Around the guy, he's crazy talented, just attention detail and everything. That kind of rubs off on me when I see him. Someone's like my mentor. He's helped me with that. Just understand when I'm on the air, just attention detail, sharp, ready to go, right? And then the other thing I think from him, that I got from him, that's helped me just with my professional life, but also my life, my livelihood, is how the grace he shows others around him. So that's what's helped me. So when I'm with my team, even though they know I can come on them sometime and can be hard on them, but I also try to show a lot of grace with the production staff, people I work with behind the scenes. Grace, love, respecting people. Jim's like that with everyone around CBS, and so that kind of hits me. I follow that same pattern because I've seen him do that. So those are the ones. That's a big one for us. Inspirational for our stories. That's a story that's been inspirational in my life. There's a couple others. I've done stories on the air where people have we did a story on a guy named Hunter Smith, who played for the Colts, the punter. And it's you know, it's amazing. Brian brings it, it's amazing that we're talking about this because, you know, he was dealing with mental health issues years ago than what it is now. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as more people are more open to talk about it now. I mean, thanks for asking that question. It's just totally brought up in my head. You know, this is like 10, 15 years ago. Punter for the Colts. Was kind of during their Super Bowl run. He was willing to sit down and talk to me about his, you know, just mental health and just how he was struggling with that. You know, it was scary. And I never forget, and I just thought about this story a few days ago because I was just thinking about I had a speaking engagement last week and I was thinking about stories and that came to my mind. And it was like, I never forget, an individual had called me, came up to me that I knew and said to me, and I never forget this, said to me, he goes, "Hey, I just want you to know, the story you did on Hunter Smith really affected me, and it helped change my thought process because I was at a point in my life where I was really, really low, and I wasn't sure what direction I was going to go in. But seeing that story and seeing how his faith and how he was able to be able to rebound did wonders for me. I just want to thank you for that." And I'm like, whoa. And this is years ago. I'm like, but you just never know who's watching, the influence you're having on people. And that's why I never take our job for granted. Like, we have the power to influence, you know what I'm saying? And so whenever I'm on TV, I want to make sure I'm on point. Like, I got all my stuff together. And I'm also very sensitive when it comes to certain things as well. Just me as a person, like, as far as is that going to put that young man we handle high school student athletes different than we do college. And we handle professional athletes different than we do college athletes, right? But I always want to make sure, hey, are we putting this person in the right light? Are we telling the true story? Like, I think one thing my staff would tell you about me, I'm thankful for God for this, but that I always try to stay as balanced as I possibly can, okay? May not be a big fan of Notre Dame or whatever, I'm saying that. I may love, Ball State. But if Notre Dame's riding high, I'm going to stay consistent riding high. If Ball State's riding low and I love Ball State, got to tell the story, Always trying to stay balanced because that's our job, not a columnist. They like for us to give our opinions sometimes, but when it comes to truly telling the story, treat it the same way. Case in point with Purdue this year, right? Purdue going to the Final Four. I think most people know there are more alum that are IU alums here, right? But you still have to treat the Purdue story just like you're treating it as any other school in the state. You guys still have the same staff that goes there. You guys still cover the same way you do. And then you got to look at the story. They've been 44 years. That alone makes it significant more than anything, right? And so, always try to remember to stay balanced in your reporting, and you do that, you'll do great. Hope I answered the question. Yep. Yes, sir. Yep. I'll get you next.
Ball State Daily News. So
What's your name again?
Daniel.
Daniel. Yep.
Two Daniels.
Okay. Yep.
Working in a market like Syracuse and working in Indianapolis,
Yeah.
what's the biggest change? I mean, how do you go from one market to the other? Like, what's your 2-month plan to get situated and start telling stories within that market?
Yeah. So good question. You always got to do your homework. Like, you got to know, your market when you go in it. So good news for me, I'm from Indiana, so I knew what was going on. I knew about the Pacers. Only that wasn't that great was racing. Oh my God. We're doing a story about this because we're celebrating 70 years at Wish, and they're going back and looking at old archives and stuff, and they got me in a fire suit. I'm like, what the heck, a fire suit? But I didn't know racing too well, so I was nervous as hell when it comes to racing. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know anything about, I knew about the information, but I never covered it. So you got to do your homework though. So I was getting prepared for the racing because Jeff Gordon, I believe the year I came, he had won the Brickyard. So I remember having some fun with that when I did my lead-in for my last couple of shows in Syracuse. But just know your market, doing your homework, just research, you want to be prepared every time you go on the air. I'm at a point now in my career where it's like, I know so much about the teams that there's times, for instance, we did 3 30-minute shows at the Final Four within 3 days. So 3 30-minute live shows I hosted within 3 days. We did one Friday. 2 in 3 days, yeah. We did one Friday, then we won Monday. Final Four shows, and a lot of that was ad-libbing. There's no teleprompter when I'm live. But just preparation, being prepared. I knew that, there's some things where you get in the market, you're gonna learn because that's just learning. There's nothing they can do. You can't prepare. You just gotta just do it. But you kind of have to you do your homework. But some things you're just gonna learn on the spot. And that's okay. Because it makes you better. And so here I am now, getting ready for my 25th Indy 500. And now I love it so much. They have me doing the big screen. I'm doing the big screen. I'm out there talking to drivers and things like that. So it's a fun month. But I hope I answered your question. Being prepared, doing as much homework as you possibly can, and then some things you're just going to learn on the spot. That's kind of how it is. And that's like if I left here now, and I'd stayed in TV, I would, I would obviously look for a network job. I always loved the NFL. I love the NFL. And then let's say I had an opportunity to go to the NFL Network. My preparation would change. I got to know more than the Colts. I got to know more than Patrick Mahomes. I better know what's going on out with the Chargers with Harbaugh. You know what I mean? You got to know a lot more. And so just like anything, you just got to prepare yourself for that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
NFL gives some great internships. Those of you who might be planning on applying.
Yeah. Colts, they do as well. Yes. Your coach, I know. Are you a Michigan guy? Yeah. Yeah. Dusty Bay. Good dude. You okay? Yes, sir.
Alexander Woods, News Link, Indiana.
Okay.
And I noticed that you talked a lot about how you had a love for sports growing up.
Yep.
But now you find yourself in a position of leadership. So, not saying your career took a shift, but at what point did you start to see that there's a bigger calling than just, giving out sports and delivering tapes to the media, and actually wanting to have an impact on the youth and also being able to be in a position of leadership to help others?
Yeah, good question. That's a really good question. So it goes back to what I was telling you guys about how, I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have someone grab my hand, right, pull me along the way. For me, I've always felt like, it's great to be on television. It's awesome, right? And you're appreciative of the people who tune in and watch you every night. But you got to do more than that. And so when I knew that Indy was going to be home for me, this is where I'm going to be, God had me at this place, I had to give back in so many ways. And so in the Bible, it talks about, for me, it talks about too much is given, much is required. And Luke, it talks about that. And so for me, I always felt like, hey, look, I got this huge responsibility. I got this great platform. So now I got to figure out a way to give back to help others through leadership. And so I do things, not only do I try to be a leader in my department and just with young people who are coming along, who are at our station or just talking to classes, I try to, I do charitable work. My charity golf outing that I raise money for teachers and inner city youth. We've raised over $3 million. We've done that. And that's because I've taken the initiative to know that it's more than just being on TV. You got to give back, you got to help others out. And so that's just what I do. And there's, like I said, there's tremendous blessings when you make sacrifices, and I don't really consider sacrifices, but sacrifices to want to help others out, where you could go and just be at home and just watch football all day, whatever. Instead, you're out there helping out inner city kids, or you're doing a charitable golf outing, or you're meeting with people to help you raise money for young people. Those things, there's great benefits. I'll give you one great example. And I told this story, I spoke last Tuesday to an organization, and it's in Carmel. And one of the biggest stories that's ever happened in Indy was a story that I did. It was called The Big Three. And it was about 10 years ago, or maybe longer than that. It was Jim Irsay, Herb Simon, owner of the Pacers, and a guy named Tony George. And we called it the Big Three because we all know those three, they kind of control, at the time they control the sports in Indiana, right? So Irsay with the Colts, right? Herb Simon with Pacers, and then Tony George with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And so I was like, man, I want to get all three of these guys together for an exclusive interview. Man, it'd be huge ratings. It'd be great to hear them talk. Has anybody ever done that, right? And so it come to find out, it looks like it was going to happen. Jim Irsay was all in. Tony George was all in. The only person I was struggling with was with Herb Simon, because I didn't know him really, really well, but he didn't live here that much, and he really didn't do a lot of interviews. And so I was like, man, I can't do those two without having him. You got to have the Pacers, right? And so I never forget this. I called and tried this person. They didn't have any link to really make it happen. Had to get someone really close to them. So here I am talking. Here I am doing charitable work for my golf outing, right? I am talking to a friend who helps me out with the charity golf outing, and God, it had to be God, told me to say, mention to him about your big three story. Just mention it to him, what you're doing. Because I keep stuff like that very quiet because I don't want the word to get out. And so I told him what happened. I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, but man, I can't get Herb Simon. It's gonna be so hard to get him. And he goes, you know, I know Herb really well. And I go, huh? He said, yeah, I know Herb really well. And so, come to find out, he's calling this person. I don't want to disclose exactly who he is, but basically, he made the connection happen, got Herb Simon to do it, right? And all three of them was one of the highest rated stories that's ever been done in the state of Indiana because of just what, just the magnitude of who these people were, just talking. And so my point is this, here I am doing what you're talking about, leadership, giving back. Here I am giving back, right? And look at the blessing I got from giving back. I'm not getting that story probably if this guy who wouldn't work with me for doing charitable work, right? I wouldn't have this story if he didn't reach out on my behalf. And he had a very close connection to making that happen, all right? Otherwise, I'm not getting it. But I got it because I was doing something positive. I was doing charitable work, right? And so how I was giving back, it really came back to me because I had one of the biggest stories that's ever been done. But not only that, it helped me with integrity. It gave my career so much, it took it to another level because people, I got earned a lot of respect from having these guys sit down. People don't just sit down with anybody, right? And so here I was kind of giving back. At the end of the day, it came back to me. So, I know a lot of folks, you guys in here, I know you guys always, I know you're trying to help out others and trying to give back at times. I just tell you this, you never leave shorthanded when you give back. You just never do. It always comes back. You may not see it physically, but just in your heart, inside you feel good when you give back. But sometimes there's the turn of where you benefit with your career, and that's what's happened to me. And so, good question. Yep. Yes, sir. Yep.
Sam Niger.
Sam.
Sam Niger, Ball State Sports Link. You
Yeah.
talked about the successful year that you've had, and it's clear that you've had a successful career in Indianapolis. So what's
Yeah.
next for you? What goals do you still set for yourself?
Great question. And by the way, Ball State, you guys are killing it with some of your sports guys. Onion, right? He's doing. Didn't he just call the Major League Baseball game or something?
He did, yeah. He was just on ESPN.
Yeah, he was. And then there's another guy from here that's
Noah Reed, maybe?
Noah Reed. Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
doing college
But
football.
yeah, they're all. Yeah, you got some good guys. So what's next for me? You know what? I don't know. I signed a 5-year deal last year, so I'm gonna be here for some time. So, and I'm thankful for that. I'm always. We have a great owner where I'm at. A guy named DeJuan McCoy. He's a Butler grad, but he's locally. I mean, he's from Indy. Really cool dude, and he believes in sports. And so I always tell him, I said, thanks for giving us our wings, because he always lets us fly to do what we want to do. Very rare does he tell me no. Very rare does he tell me no. And when I say that, because he's just competitive. And so, like, for instance, we're the only station in Milwaukee right now covering the Pacers. I think we are. I think they said last night. He gives us the resources to do what we need to do to be successful. We're the only station that went out and covered the in-season tournament when the Pacers played out there in Las Vegas this year. He asks a lot of us, but he gives us the resources to do it. We have a big sports department, and so to answer your question, right now I'm fine. I'm happy. I don't think I'm at a point in my career now where it's, you don't just leave this job for just anything. It's got to be the right move, but I can't go anywhere anyway. I'm on a contract, and so and I'm happy. I think that what's next for me is just trying to grow our department, not just as far as physically, but just challenging my guys and on my team, just making sure that they're bringing their A game, that we're being creative. We just did a show on Caitlin Clark. Y'all know who Caitlin Clark is? Everybody knows Caitlin, right? So we just did a story on her on the WNBA draft. We did that last week. So I got back from Augusta, and the next minute I'm getting ready to do a story, having our special on Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and the Fever. I spent time with Caitlin last week. I interviewed her. By the way, she's unbelievable. I mean, my goodness. I mean, we joked around saying she's like the Taylor Swift of college of basketball. I mean, it's insane just as far as, and deservedly so, because she's had one heck of a career. But just how, you put anything out or you tweet about her, and it just blows up. Prime example, Amanda Maynard, Megan McEwen. Not Megan, my God, my head's going over. Angela Morian, these are all my former sports reporters. Angela Morian, she did a tweet last week. She covered the WNBA draft in New York. And there was these young girls who were outside trying to get inside to see Caitlin Clark. And Angela took some video, it was like 20 seconds, and tweeted out. Guess how many views it got? I looked today, or I looked yesterday. Guess how many views it has? This is from last week, but the day of, it was crazy. What do you think? How many views? Something like that.
300,000?
More than that. He said 300,000. On Twitter. More than that.
Twitter? Oh.
Twitter, yeah.
Maybe 600.
More than that. It's crazy. More than that. More than that. It was like 2.9 million. Like, it's crazy. Talk about her effect. So that's how powerful her brand is and her effect. It's going to be great for the city of Indianapolis. It's going to be great for her. And so we're happy to have her. But I spent some time with her last week. And so I think for me, just as far as the new stories and just the new events coming to town, that would be a way of just kind of challenging my career. Okay, good question. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Brandon Beeman, Ball State Sports News.
Yeah, Brandon. Yep.
New people like Caitlin.
Yep.
You want to follow the trends because that's what's trending at the time.
Mhm.
How do you do that without being without being repetitive and just doing the same story over and over?
Yeah. So good question. So our job, I always think of making sure when we go on the air that we think about people at home. Like, what do viewers want to see, right? So do you Caitlin Clark? I see that. You just don't want to repeat. You got to be creative, right? And so when I interviewed her last week, we have no access to anything here, do we?
What do you mean?
Twitter, we can't call up Twitter, can we?
I don't think I can call it up on the screen.
You can't. Okay. So when I interviewed her last week, I wanted to make sure I didn't talk to her about I wanted to be different in my interview, because here's the other issue. I had 3 other people lined up with me to interview her. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to ask the base. I'm going to warm her up first and say, hey, how's it feel being Indy? Something like that. But I got to get kind of creative, So I approached her. I said, welcome to Indy. I'm glad you're here. How's it feel? And she did that. And then I said, I was reading the tweet. Because one thing about me, I always try to think of me just talking to you right now. Or when I'm on air and I do my live shots. I always tell my team, just talk, explain to people. For example, last night, the Indiana Pacers, man, they didn't show up at all in the first half. I mean, they were just brutal, right? As a matter of fact, Rick Carlisle said after the game that it was embarrassing what happened, and he puts it on themselves. But here's the deal. It's good news, though. It's only game 1, best of 7, right? All they got to do is get one game from there. It can change everything as far as the home court advantage. That's how I would approach that when I was on air, conversational. So with her, I wanted to try to bring up stories I would probably ask her in person. So one thing that really grabbed my attention when I was covering Purdue in the Final Four was that tweet that she did, where it was she said 18.7 million. Do you remember that tweet? Because it was I call it iconic because it was huge. I mean, it's never had ratings like that for a women's, college championship game. Never, ever. And I just remember seeing her just she didn't do anything. She just went 18.7, but it was powerful. So I said to her, I go, hey, we were doing an interview, and I'm like, I remember, I'll never forget this moment. I was down in Phoenix, covering Purdue, and you had you sent this tweet out that said 18.7 million. She kind of finished the word with me, and she laughed, and she explained to me, and then she went on to talk about how, women's sports and just how big it is right now. And how, that rating was better than the Masters. And it's so funny because she rattled off all that. She was better than the Masters. Only one college football game. She was like, we are doing it, right? And I loved it. I love when she said that. And she goes on and on and on. But those are moments where you got to be kind of different. If I would have asked her, hey, back-to-back player of the year, how great is that? That's not, she talked about that many times. So you got to be different. So I asked her about Tyrese Halliburton, She's an Iowa alum. He's Iowa State. Huge rivals. Actually, I asked her that in the press conference, and a lot of people, she laughed about it. It got a great reaction. I think ESPN had it on as well. But just being different, being creative. So it goes back to your point. You don't want to keep doing everything the same. You got to change because times are changing. You know, like for instance, I talked about our digital reporter, digital producer we're bringing on. Digital's huge. You got to go with the times. And back to my owner, he's big with that. Like he's really smart about the times, how times are changing, and you got to adapt. Sometimes I don't want to adapt the way he wants to adapt, but when I look back, you're like, God, he was right about that. You know, you have to be moving. You got to be thinking ahead. You got to be creative. You got to be different. Because if you don't, you'll miss out. And when you miss out, people don't want to watch you. People don't want to read your stuff. You know, if you're not different, they don't want to read you. You know what I mean? So you got different in a certain way, obviously. You want to have your morals. You still want to, you want to be, you still want to be professional. But yeah, you got to be creative. Anything you do, and don't settle with people who want to keep doing everything the same way when you can expand. You can be better. And I know sometimes you guys get in those groups. You're covering games. You're doing sports. You're doing behind the scenes with Newslink and all this stuff. You have the show's always gone that way. Well, okay, that's cool, but here's a cool ideal here too. Let's try it. Let's incorporate that. Let's do that. And so don't be afraid to challenge your classmates on some things. Not everything, but if there's something you think you need to change up, let's try it. See what happens. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll get you next.
Ethan Allen, Newsweek.
Hey, Ethan. Yeah.
So you've talked a lot about just the different events and sports you've covered in your lifetime.
Yep.
I was wondering, what is your favorite, and what do you think is maybe the easiest or easier than some of the other sports you cover?
Good question. Okay, so I love the NFL. I just do. I mean, I like college basketball too, but I don't know. I just love the NFL. Blame that on Peyton, because we covered him. I covered him every year he was here, and we always won. Just like it was crazy. I remember I was texting with Dallas Clark. I remember Dallas Clark played for the Colts, good friend of mine, and you build relationships with these guys too, which is pretty awesome. When you cover them, and then afterwards you become friends and things like that. But the NFL is my favorite. I don't know. I just love it, and I love covering the Super Bowl. What event is not the hard? You said it can appear like it's hard, but it's not.
Is there a sport that's harder than another one?
To cover?
Yeah.
For me, the ones I do, and not being arrogant, they're not really hard because I've been doing it for such a long time. I mean, I cover college basketball. I know the NBA. I know NFL. I know the racing now. You had me do soccer, and maybe a Hartman. Soccer's probably the one I'm not like as well equipped like I am with the other ones. So maybe that may be it. Maybe. I mean, we have Indy 11. Obviously, they're on our air. So that may be the one where I could probably maybe a little bit more knowledge. But as far as anything else, I mean, pretty much I'm in there. College basketball during the NCAA tournament is it's fun to cover. Not as hard because you don't get a chance to shoot the games. You're kind of just doing interviews and then you're pretty much done for the most part and telling your stories. So that's probably not as hard as a lot of people think it is. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
There are a couple of students who haven't gotten their question in, and they're required to ask questions of.
Okay, who are they? Well, okay, go ahead. Yes.
Callie Tuma, Ball State Sports Link.
Hey, Callie.
So,
Callie, you said?
Callie, yeah.
Yeah, great
so
name.
talking more about the AC Golf Classic.
Yep.
What was the original idea behind that, and then what are the goals now compared to when you started?
Okay, yeah. So I love to golf. I'm an okay golfer, but I love it. Just love it. I don't know. Any golfers in here? Anybody golf? Anybody golf in here?
Not very well.
Never. Okay, but you golf. Okay, cool. So I always, like I talked about, so my parents, my mom and dad, my mom especially, she always talked about education, how important it was, and also about giving back. And so I always knew education, and I always wanted to give back. So I wanted to figure out a way, how can I do that, give back via education? And so I found this love of golf, years ago, and I was like, you know what, I want to do a golf outing. And I want to raise money for inner city kids, youth, who need the resources, to make it. And so some of these kids we're obviously working with, and I never thought it would get as big as it's gotten now, but I knew that I had a platform. I knew a lot of celebrities, that I could like get to come play in it, and that alone helps you, get the word out to help you, raise money. And so we've made some crazy progress of where we've come because there was one year I remember we raised $40,000 one year. I'm like, yeah, thank you, Lord, $40,000, we made it. It's good for these kids. It was something. And then now last year we raised it was $460,000. Who would have thought that over the time? And so the reason why it's been successful is that people in the city, they love to help others, okay, in this central Indiana, which has been one of the reasons. Two, we switched over. At the time when I first started, we were just doing it for inner city kids. And then I got involved with an organization called Teachers Treasures, all right? Teachers Treasures is the name of it. It's in Indy. And so it's a place where teachers go to get free school supplies for their students. Now, these teachers are teachers who are in inner city, just really struggling income families, areas where they teach. So if you ask any teacher, you may know, they'll tell you they spend like $1,000 of their own money buying school supplies for students who can't afford it. We all go to class like, hey, no big deal. Well, some kids, they just don't have it. And so these teachers will go into a store, it's a former Kroger store, and they'll come in, and they'll open the door, they'll go in and get whatever they want for their class. And so my golf outing, we've been able to provide money for them to get, school supplies. So we joke around, we're like, hey, what can $460,000 of, what can I buy in school supplies? And they had showed me a picture of like these two 18-wheeler trucks of just school supplies. This is what you basically provided today, thanks to, people donating to the golf outing. But so we changed over, we did inner city kids, and now we do inner city kids and teachers together. And ever since we switched over to teachers, like the last 8 years, our numbers, our raising has just gone to a new level because everybody loves a great professor. Everybody loves teachers, right? And so people, when the guys are playing or folks are playing, they're like, hey, yeah, I think of my teacher back in first grade, or I think about this teacher here, she was awesome, or he was awesome, whatever. And they're willing to give more money. And so we've been able to raise more money because of just switching over to doing both, teachers and the inner city kids together. And it's been such a big blessing. Thanks for asking. And I get so much joy. Our tournament's coming up June the 17th this year, day after Father's Day, and we sold out in 2 days. Yes, people want to come. We'll have tons of celebrities there. We bring in a lot of cool people, a lot of Colts players play, Pacers, and TV people. So it'll be a lot of fun. Yep. Yes, sir.
Evan Stowell, Ball State Sports Link.
Hey,
I
Evan.
noticed
Yeah.
that a lot of your mentors are play-by-play guys.
Yeah.
Guys who go into that field, and I saw in your past that you did some play-by-play.
Yep.
Was there ever an opportunity for you to follow down that career path
Yeah.
and go a different direction?
Yeah, good question. So I did ESPN basketball. Well, I'll tell you this. So my first, and I actually pulled the papers out a while back because I thought about it. My first game for ESPN, it was ESPN Plus or ESPN Regional or something. It was an Ohio State game, Ohio State football with, who did they play? I want to say they played Kent. Who did they play? They played some, what was it, Toledo or whatever. It was my first game doing for ESPN. I was doing sidelines. And at the shoe, and it was crazy. There were so many people there, and I was nervous as you can think of. I was so nervous because it was my first time doing it, or was my second. It was my first time actually hosting, because I was doing sidelines, but I was also hosting the halftime. They said, "We're gonna have you do all." And I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me! I'm doing all." So that was my first experience. I'll never forget. But I was nervous, but I got through it. And then there was more opportunities for me to do. I was doing sideline football at the time, and then it opened up for me to do play-by-play for basketball. And I've always loved doing that. It's funny you bring it. I've always felt like, what I want to do. I want to do this TV thing. I want to do this play-by-play. So what I was doing, this is a great story about it. So here's what was happening. So I had my job at Wish, and I was the sports director at the time. I was the main anchor at the time. So on Sunday, on the week, so they assigned me the SWAC conference. So on Monday nights, I would literally have to fly. I'll be down I'll be doing Colts on Sunday. The next morning, I'll be headed down to Alabama or Louisiana, and I'm doing SWAC games. And you weren't talking, I had no private jet like this. So you're talking about just praying to God that flights are on time. I mean, the good news, I was going to the South, so weather was always pretty good. But I literally would be on the air talking to Dallas Clark on Sunday night at 11:30, whatever. We did those shows live. Next morning, I'm catching a flight like at 5 o'clock at the airport. My game's on ESPN nationally at like 9 o'clock Eastern, so I was happy because I bought some time because it was on Central Time. So I literally would be like, really didn't sleep at all. I would like literally, because I want to make sure I got up, get on the plane on that Monday morning. You never could go direct. Fly into like if I did Jackson State, let's say, whatever. I'm literally flying in, to Mississippi, whatever, and I would get off, fly, and then I would get ready to call the game that night. And then get on the flight the next morning and get back to Wish, which I would take Tuesday off sometimes, and then go back to my job. So I did that for 3 or 4 or 5 years. I've also called games in Cincinnati. I've done some Big Ten before. I did love it, and so eventually we got the Butler games. So I would call all the Butler games before they went big and they went to the Big East. So I always love it. I've always loved that, and I love doing football too. I don't know. I just felt like it was just hard to do both of those. I had to pick between one of the two. I had to pick one or the other, and I just felt like at the time God wanted me here to be a sportscaster on air, just locally. But I do, when I watch some games, I do have that. I do think about it at times. I'm kind of critical of some guys that I know that do it. Because I feel like I know I could do it as well. But there's a lot of traveling involved. There's a lot of traveling. But that is you guys think about doing play-by-play, or ladies doing play-by-play. It is okay. How many we got? Yeah, it's a cool feeling. I mean, to be at the games, to set the tone. It's pretty cool. A friend of mine, young guy with Syracuse, Noah Eagle, so young. I think Noah's 25. He just got the job to do the Olympics basketball. I mean, and I know who his dad. We all know who his dad is, but he works so hard to get where he's at, and he's very talented. But he's someone young who's just thriving. You talk about the guys, that Ball State has out there now. The guys they're doing. They're just killing it right now, and they're pretty young too. So, but it's nothing like being at the game. It's a cool thing. And if you love it, then I would say go. The thing only I would tell you is this: it's very competitive like anything else, and you're not gonna get that dream job when you got out of college. You gotta grind and keep working at it, and then when it's there. It's a pretty cool moment. Because you're telling the story. You have a huge responsibility. Get it right. I'm trying to think of who called the Ball State game where it was that crazy. Coach Lewis would kill me. It was a crazy finish. Was that you? Were you on the call? That was crazy. Was that you?
Yeah, our Western Michigan.
Yeah, Western. Was that you? Yeah, that was great, bro. You were great.
Thank you.
Had no idea. Yeah, man. Dude, yeah, you did really good. Did really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be $500.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know it. Okay. Go ahead.
It's-
Or maybe I did. Did I?
Yeah,
Maybe I
Kevin's
did.
gotten 2 questions in
No, I don't know if I did.
you haven't gotten.
Who did I text? Someone called the game earlier. I DM'd somebody who was really good. I'm trying to think who the kid was here. I don't know who it was, but you were that was good, really good. Yep. We got one. Who else?
So there are a couple of
Okay, then we
students
get
who haven't
And how are we
gotten-
looking on time?
We have
'Cause my throat's really about to-
11 minutes.
Perfect. Okay, good. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Kaylee Kirk, Ball State Sports Link. You said you had opportunities to go to ESPN.
Oh, here you go.
So much bigger
Yeah.
than Wish.
Yeah.
And being from the around here too.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
did you decide to stay
Yeah.
instead of going to? these big
I
spots?
know, that's great. So, good question. I'll never forget. So it was a contract year, bless you, and I had a station, a top 5 station that wanted me, and I had Wish that wanted that were negotiating, but it was not. My agent was not good. It just wasn't what we wanted. And then I had ESPN that wanted me to come out and talk. Let's figure this thing. Let's do something. The point of my career, the Colts were doing so well. Indy was thriving. My family was there. I was happy, which matters, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just felt like that's where I needed to be. And, I never, there's moments you have where you see people at the network and you're like, God, you could be doing that job, whatever, But those are just moments that come in my head a little bit, and then I move on. I don't have any regrets. I don't. The way I the way I did it, I'm thankful the way this is the path that God gave me to have. I'm cool with it. There's no regrets. You know, I mean, come on, I'm going on air. Talk about, a great city. Cost of living is not like LA or New York. I mean, you know, I don't really have, I got a great company I work for. You know, I got a good team. There's no regrets at all. But to truly answer your question, I just feel like I was meant to be here. I just did. ESPN was not, that love was not there for me. But the job in Chicago was very close. That was one where I was prepared to probably go there. And then my station came to me and they made us the offer that we wanted. And so it worked out. But I was about to, I don't think they thought I was serious, but my agent was very, very very serious about we're moving on. And so I'm like, we are? He's like, yeah, we're moving on. And so yeah. Ryan, yes sir. Yeah.
Ryan Stowe, Jessup Ball State Sports.
Yeah, Texans fan, I see. Yeah, okay.
Probably,
Okay.
I wanted to take this off. But
Yeah, no, you're fine, man.
I was just wondering, you talked about a lot of events that you covered, like the Final Four, the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
It's clear that you're a big sports fan, so
Yeah.
when you're working, how do you balance the fan part of you that wants to take it all in, is kind of in awe, but also understanding that this is work and there's a job to do? How do you balance
Good question. Yeah. So I'm pretty easy. So here's the deal. So unless it's Syracuse, it doesn't matter. Everybody else is, I'm sorry. I want the Colts to win. I want the Patriots to win. I want the teams I cover locally. I want them to win. But there's only one team that I get crazy about, and my staff would tell you, my team would tell you that I lose my mind. And that's Syracuse, where I would just go basketball-wise. Football too, but basketball mainly. And so I'm out of control. For instance, this is a great question. So IU played against Syracuse, I think it was in 2016, the Sweet 16, or was it 13? 16 or 13. And they were the number 1 seed, Syracuse is the 4th seed. And they called me out to do the game. I had to go do the game because I was covering IU. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is terrible because I love my alma mater. And I'm always want the local teams to win, but that night, please. If I was in a win-win situation. Because if IU won, it's cool for work and all that stuff. But if they lost, I'm just committed to my alma mater. I just mean so there's only one school where I get I lose everything, and that's Syracuse. Now, if Syracuse was in Indianapolis, that would probably change, right? Because you got to be professional, right? But the fact that it's elsewhere, now look, when Syracuse played against Indiana, I wasn't on the air talking about go Syracuse. I wasn't doing that. But right here, my heart was like, okay, Orange, let's see what we got. That's just me. I'm just a big alma mater fan of my school, and so I think most people are. We love our schools, right? For me, I don't usually have a problem with that, man. I try to stay, I go back to what earlier we talked about, trying to stay balanced. That's one thing, not to pat myself on the back, but I really try to take pride in. I don't get caught up in it, even when I cover Purdue, I want Purdue to win, yeah, because Matt Painter's great. They deserve it. It's a local team, yeah. But you don't get caught up in it. And now, one thing that's a hard game to cover is IU and Purdue. It's horrible when we had to cover that game because you got to stay balanced for both teams, and you can't get too high on IU because Purdue fans get mad, and you can't get too high on IU because, or vice versa, they get mad. So that to me is hard. It's almost like people in North Carolina, the same way when they're covering UNC and Duke, whatever. You just, you got to kind of stay balanced there. But no issue for me. But good question. Yeah. Nathan, yep. Okay.
Nathan Hargrave, Ball State Media.
Yep.
Division covering plenty of sporting events from Super Bowl to Final Four,
Yep.
Brickyard. Is there one that you like covering more than any of the others?
Say it one more time.
No, there's one that you like covering or working with more than any of the others.
What are they again? What are you saying?
I said the Final Four, Super Bowl, and
Oh.
Brickyard.
Well, I think I love Cup. Well, I love the Indy 500. I love it. I'm going to be out there. Obviously in a couple weeks from now, and I'll be out there every day. It has grown on me every time I do it. I love it. I think my favorite overall, and it's kind of hard to compare them because they're different, but I enjoy. I'm an NFL guy. I enjoy the Super Bowl. I just enjoy. It's just You know, I mean, I had Rihanna hanging out, talking to Rihanna 2 years ago. I mean, come on. I mean, you Usher last year. I mean, you're meeting you see all the celebrities. You're at the biggest game in sports. Period. You get that opportunity to have that seat. You know, for me, it's just a fun week. There's big stories going on. Colts stories are happening. You know, just a lot of things are happening there. So I mean, I love the Indy 500. Super Bowl for me, you know, just far as kind of work and it's a short week, you know, just one long week, 1 week, but it's just, you know, there's lots of happening every day. It's probably one of my favorites, yeah, for sure. I enjoy it. Yep.
Has everybody gotten at
Oh,
least
one more,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
In Ball State Media.
yeah.
I follow you on Instagram and I saw that you had posted a video at the Cancer Research
Yeah.
Museum, Ursay.
Yeah.
And then right after that, you had posted your interview with Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
And do you still, like, those are two pretty big events, so do you still, like, feel, like, the same adrenaline that you did, like, when you first started, or does that still, like, happen after you finish those events?
Yeah, so, good question. I mean, I've done it for so long now that I don't really get, I don't know. I mean, I knew it was a big moment, right? I guess the deal is I'm around these athletes all the time and, you know, and these celebrities, if you will, that I don't really kind of get caught up in it. You know what I mean? Because I'm around them all the time. And I think once you get caught up in it, then you're in trouble. Like you're gonna have some problems, right? Because you're just becoming a fan more than anything. But you appreciate those moments. So she's talking about 2 weeks ago. I had a chance to MC. Chuck Pagano and I have become pretty good friends, former coach, really good friends actually. I emceed his event, Chuck Strong tailgate gala that he does. And this year he had Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was back as his guest speaker. And so I'm emceeing the event. And so I'm like, we knew it was going to be a big hit. I mean, Andrew Luck coming back. He's really never really been back at the complex like that. And everyone loves Andrew Luck. And so we do the event. It's a good time. And then at the end, they decide, I wish I had a video to show you guys, but at the end, they have this, go online because go on my Twitter page and check it out. We talk about Caitlin Clark's video. This video had about 3 million views too. It was the craziest thing that happened. I'll do it real quick. Mr. Ursay, he just gives back so much. He said, hey, look, I want to give $1 million. He said he's going to give $1 million if Andrew Luck and Chuck Pagano, you know, the knockdown game, they throw footballs, knock down these faces. If they can knock down all these faces in 60 seconds, this is at the end of the event. And me as a media person and a TV person, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is gonna go viral. This is gonna go nuts. If if they can knock them all down, because people love that they're two together. Plus, we haven't seen him throw since he retired, basically, right? So he gets up there. They're like six, and Andrew's all in it. You got to go look at the video. It's crazy. Andrew's all in it. Here they go. They're throwing. He's knocking one out, and it's like his first three. He just spiral, bam, 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 just knocking down. People are like going crazy, and I'm losing my mind. I'm recording, but I'm laughing because it's so hilarious. And then finally, they get to a point where Andrew has to move Chuck over to the left because Chuck was loose. He wasn't getting the stuff on his side, so Andrew took over him, threw it. You got to watch it. It's really good. But it took off. So she's talking about that moment. So that was Friday, and then on Monday I was with Caitlin and talking to her as well. So you appreciate the moments, but you don't get really too I don't get too caught up in them because there's always something going on every time. Then you know what I mean, you do. But you also take advantage of those moments. So I knew that video was gonna go viral, so I posted that on social media because I knew everyone wanted to see it. Caitlin Clark, that interview with her, people love hearing from her. So I knew going that interview, I wanted to make sure that I had something that would be educational to people. They could want to click on it and hear about because I just knew that the platform she has. So you better give them something that they want. And it was great to kind of show her to the Indy area who she is and just let her speak for herself, which she's awesome. So great question. Yep. We got one more.
This is a really quick one.
You haven't gone yet, right?
I know, it's just a little side question.
Yeah.
So are you guys doing anything with the Olympic time trials at the Colts Stadium?
Yeah, so we will be covering it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be covering it. That's about it. We're not NBC, no. But are you going? It's gonna be fun.
I'm a swimmer, so.
Oh, good for you.
But,
You better be going. That's gonna be awesome. Are you
well,
from
I'm
here?
going to Paris for the Olympics to watch that. So
Oh, you are? Oh, wow. Okay, that's nice. Okay, anything
And
else?
No, we're going to take a picture with you.
Okay, great. Love it. Hey, y'all were good. Y'all had some good questions. So, good luck to you guys for everything. We're senior, right? Senior. Where's senior? Where's you senior, right? No.